Everyone, welcome back to another episode of 3rd and 20 Dynasty Podcast, Season 2, Episode 23, joined by the usual crew of Jake, Lounis, and Frank. We all have something to smile about right now. Frank's Steelers managed to squeak into the playoffs. Lounis's Eagles and my Patriots are also there. And even Jake, a Giants fan, has something to celebrate because Joe Judge was just fired maybe an hour or so before we were recording this. So
let's go.
the whole crowd is happy today. And with that, let's just lead in right into their news and notes, and basically was essentially the coaching carousel. A bunch of coaches got fired. I guess I wouldn't say a bunch, but some coaches got fired, and it's important to talk about, I guess, and it's something to follow as the offseason goes along. But to sum up what we have so far, we have Joe Judge from the Giants getting fired. Vic Fangio from the Broncos, Mike Zimmer from the Vikings, Matt Nagy from the Bears, and the most surprising one I think people would agree on is Brian Flores out as the Miami Dolphins head coach. There's also David Culley, who could potentially be fired, but as of we're recording this right now, he's not. I'm willing to bet that he probably will be fired just because the Texans organization doesn't really seem to have strong ties with him. There's rumors that Nick Casario and Easterby want to go get like a Patriot guy or something. So I don't know. We'll see with Culley. But I mean, Giants fans all this week were screaming for Joe Judge to be fired. It took him quarterback sneaking on 3rd and 9 to finally
That was
get
the
it
funniest
done.
play ever.
Yeah.
That was the funniest play ever. I think when we
He
didn't
not
they
only
also
did it-
QB sneak on
he-
2nd down?
Yeah, he not only QB sneaked on 3rd and 9, he QB sneaked on 2nd and 10.
Yeah.
What are you doing, buddy? You're 4 and 12, whatever your record
I've
is.
never seen that.
Who cares? Who cares? If you don't give enough room for your punter and you get a safety, who cares? Nobody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I guess like dynasty importance of this, which is, we're the Dynasty Podcast, we should focus on dynasty stuff. Probably the most important two, I would say, are the Dolphins head coach, whoever comes in there, and the Bears head coach. Because you got the two young quarterbacks that, need to be developed in Tua and Justin Fields. And, essentially the Dolphins were saying, we're sticking with our guy, Tua. Like, we believe we could build around Tua because that's kind of where an internal struggle, according to these people, I don't know how truthful it is, but the internal struggle was over Brian Flores not wanting Tua, the GM wanting Tua and building around Tua. So seems like as of now, Tua is the guy in Miami. And then the Bears, they just look terrible on offense. Their offensive line was atrocious. Justin Fields couldn't really get the ball driving downfield a whole lot, so they're going to have to try and fix him too. I don't know about you guys, but I've been seeing the same kind of people again thrown around. You got the Cowboys guys, Dan Campbell
Dan Quinn.
Dan Quinn and Kellen Moore.
Kellen Moore, yeah.
Yeah, Kellen Moore.
Kellen Mond, Kellen Mond going for head coach because he can't seem to play as a quarterback.
Then you
Flores
got
is getting interviews.
Yeah, Flores is getting interviews. I've heard Dabble from the Bills.
Brian Dable was around there last. I mean, you got to assume that Dable and Bieniemy are going to be two guys around the range again. Nathaniel Hackett, I think he's gotten interviewed by the Jaguars, or he's going to be interviewed by the Jaguars. That's an interesting one. He's the OC of the Packers.
Doug Peterson.
Doug Peterson. And there was Leslie Frazier, the Bills DC. I saw he was
Former
getting
Vikings
thrown around.
coach.
Yeah, so that was an interesting one. I know that I think the Bears interviewed him, and all the Bears fans were like, "Fuck no, please not, Leslie Frazier." So that was funny. Honestly, what I want to touch on with the coaching carousel that I think is honestly the most interesting one is the Jacksonville Jaguars, because it seems like from the outside they're going to try to go with the offensive-minded guru to try and develop Trevor Lawrence. I think that the number one target seems to be for them would be Nathaniel Hackett, who, I mean, you've seen him and what him and LaFleur have done with Aaron Rodgers. Not that they developed Aaron Rodgers, but the offensive success that they've had. I mean, it's a step up from what Mike McCarthy was doing with the Packers, which was already a pretty damn good offense to begin with. But they don't lose games really, like unless it's in the NFC Championship.
So Rodgers I think just won 2 MVPs. Well, he's the favorite for MVP this year.
I mean, you saw Trevor Lawrence last game he played of the season was phenomenal against the Colts. I mean, he had only a handful of incompletions, most of which were drops by Laviska Shenault. I think that that's just a really interesting scenario there. Like if Hackett goes to Jacksonville, is there any bump to Lawrence? Is he still the same? What's the scenario there?
I mean, I think Lawrence is just so highly ranked as of now, just because of what hype he came into the league with, being the next chosen one, basically. Been number one pick since his freshman year of college. I don't think his ranking has really changed. He's still a top 10 dynasty QB. He might move up a spot or two, just if that offense can really get clicking. But other than that, I don't see him really moving a whole lot.
Yeah, I wouldn't move me either. There's really, you guys agree, no movement for Lawrence, basically on any coaching hire.
Yeah,
I'd probably say the same. Is the Jags probably the most appealing landing spot for a coach that's like trying to get one?
I think the Dolphins has to be. That team is good. That team has a very solid defense.
I think that
Denver would have to be for me.
Well, it's also interesting too because the Giants are going to have 2 top 10 picks. Now they don't have any cap space, which is definitely the crux of the issue. But they're interesting. Houston, I want to talk about Houston not because it's necessarily the most appealing landing spot. They have a lot of draft capital, not necessarily like super high, but just kind of throughout a lot of like thirds and fourths and whatnot. But with Davis Mills, this really becomes interesting because I don't know if Culley is tied to Davis Mills in any way, shape, or form, or if Casario, the GM, is tied to him. But like, if there's a new head coach, is there any concern for Davis Mills there? Are you like, what's the Davis Mills scenario with a new coach?
I wouldn't bank on him being the starter next season.
I don't think you can bank on him being the starter, but at the same time, I think Houston is pretty content seeing what he's done. I think he's played pretty well given the weapons and the offensive line in front of him. And they just have so many holes on this team that I think they're probably going to end up spending a lot of their top draft picks on the defensive side of the football and getting him weapons and then saying, okay, now you actually have a real team. What can you do with that? And give him a more fair evaluation than this year with the kind of thrown together squad that they were with the whole Watson scenario not really being played out, I should say.
For me, I'm treating this more like a Gardner Minshew situation of 2 years ago, where it's, he has draft capital, so there's something, but like, yeah, he had like a solid season. I don't think it was as good as what Gardner Minshew's was. But it was solid. And he's worth a flyer, I guess. And if he ends up starting again, that'd be good. But to me, I don't think he's going to be a long-term starter. So, maybe he does get to play out this season on the Texans, but whether it's next year or 2 years from now, I just don't see him being a starting quarterback. And then if we want to just jump back real quick with the coaching staffs and everything, I think something important to consider too is good coaches aren't going to want to go to teams where the GMs are bad. So Balky, for example, in Jacksonville, where all the Jacksonville fans are dressing up as clowns and everything, like that person is your boss. You're not going to want your boss to, be like one of the least regarded people at his position, So it's more appealing to me to go pick up the players on the Broncos or on the Giants, where they're going to bring in a new GM and a new coach, and the Broncos might even have like a whole new ownership allegedly. So that's more where I'm going. I'm not buying into any of the Jacksonville hype currently.
Well, Joe Herbert just brought up a good point too that I didn't think about. The Dolphins are not enticing for a head coach because the ownership just showed it favors the general manager over the head coach. I mean, that's a good point there. That's
a fair point.
You have to go in there and play by ownership, general manager's rules, and kind of build your. You have to build the team and coach the team that. Obviously, they want. It's going to sound stupid, but like, hey, you can't really have a say in the quarterback. You can't have it, and apparently probably not a lot of the rest of the roster either.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's pretty, from what all the reports have seen, JT mentioned it earlier, it kind of just seems like Flores wanted to make a move for Watson, and the GM who drafted Tua wanted to stick with Tua. I mean, Tua started to play a lot better towards the end of the season, but like I do kind of agree with that comment in terms of like if you're a head coach, you kind of have to live with whatever the GM says.
I mean, really quickly, because I kind of want to just wrap this up, unless we have anything spicy here. Like,
No,
does any of these coaching changes heavily impact any of the players on dynasty teams right now? Like, I'm thinking in New York, does this mean it's the end of the Daniel Jones era? Because I felt like Daniel
Yes.
Jones, the big backing he had was by Gettleman. So now that Gettleman's not there, but I mean, I feel like that's already priced in, though. No one's going out there and saying, "Oh, can't wait to go buy Daniel Jones right now." Like,
for sure. I think what was more interesting, I saw something bringing up because it's going to be a new GM and new coach. What they do with Saquon, and I know like he would have an extension coming up.
He does.
What do you think, Jake, as like a Giants fan?
I mean, aren't they just going to pick up his 5th-year option and play it from there? Right.
I mean, that's the first thing you do is you just pick up the 5th-year option, gives you team control another year. But
if you don't plan on re-signing him, then you might explore what you can trade him.
Yeah,
for.
but I think no matter what, you're giving him the year. You're going to see what you have in Saquon. Give him another year removed from a major injury, and then play it from next year.
Unless you're getting a first-round pick for him, you're not gonna. I really don't see them moving him, and I don't think any team's gonna give a first-round pick for a running back in today's age. So I see him probably playing out the rest of his contract with the Giants, just based on, unless again someone blows him away, which very unlikely.
No one's trading a first-round pick for Saquon at this point. I think the only thing left, Frank, is with any of these teams, I'm taking or at least most of these teams, I'm taking the approach of the house is getting clean. Like the Broncos, like I don't expect Teddy Bridgewater or Drew Lock.
See you,
Loonis. The Vikings.
The Vikings. That's why I want to talk about, though, because what about Kirk Cousins now? Because he's on the last year of his deal.
Yeah, I think this will be the last year of his deal, and then he'll be gone.
Really?
Yeah. The only one that I think specifically is the only two are Justin Fields, because he was literally just drafted. Even though Ryan Pace is gone, he was just drafted by the Bears. Like, gave up 2 picks to get him.
Yeah, you don't got a first, so it's like, what are you gonna do?
So Justin Fields and Tua, because the power struggle was over Tua essentially. So Tua versus Watson. So to me, I think that means everyone else is fair game. I'm not buying in stock of it. Oh, and Trevor Lawrence, my bad. Trevor Lawrence also, but it's Trevor Lawrence. I don't know. So yeah, those 3 guys I think are safe. Tua, Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields. I think everyone else, you gotta think either this is their last year or either they just play their last year or next year will be their last year.
All right, let's move on.
All right, moving on to do you want to do trade targets or running back draft?
Let's run through trade targets. Let's just go speed run this shit like 7 minutes.
Okay. So someone dropped in a good comment on our last YouTube video that we decided that we wanted to talk over. Make sure if you're watching us on YouTube, drop a like, subscribe, and comment, and maybe we'll try and get to some of them. I wish I saw the comment right now so I could give him a shout out. All right, moving on. So trade targets. We'll just hit all of our high trade targets first, right? So I'll kick it off since I'm already talking, and we talked about him last week. We talked about him the week before. I'm saying you should go out and get Trey Lance. He's currently valued as a top 10 quarterback, but I think that's only going to stay the same. Like I think he's only going to go up from here. Trey Lance has the rushing upside that most of these other top quarterbacks don't. To me, I just think that means you have the rushing upside that Jalen Hurts can potentially give you, but you also have, the high first-round draft capital. You don't have anyone that's going to be breathing down his neck, assuming Jimmy Garoppolo gets traded. Have solid weapons built around Trey Lance. I've said enough about Trey Lance already, so we could just speed run it.
Well, yeah, I just wanted to, I guess for a lot of these players, I kind of wanted to throw in like a price tag too that you would generally try to go for them with.
All right, so it's kind of hard to say right off the top of the bat without looking at it. I'd give up I'd give up 101 in this draft easily. Well, on top of 101 that I would have to give up, I'm going to try and keep trade cut real quick as I vamp.
I feel
Let's see.
like 101 is relatively fair. We lost Lunis is having a rough time out here.
Yeah,
I mean,
Lunis,
maybe you have to give a smidge on top of that, but like off the top of my head, I feel like 101 for Trey
Oh, yeah.
Lance is relatively fair.
101 for Trey Lance is, yeah, you would have to include a late fourth on top of the 101, which fine, like whatever. I do that. I'd give him a third on top of the 101 Trey Lance. I just think Trey Lance is better. All right, yeah, Lunas said his connection's buggy, so we might be down for Lunas for the segment. So all right, we'll move on to Jake. This was someone I was going to pick too, Jake, but
It's just we love this guy on the pod. If you listen to us, we talk about him all the time. It's all roads lead to Kyle Pitts. Go and get him. He had a bad rookie season, and I think he still had close to 1,000 yards. If he had a few more touchdowns, everyone would be talking about how he had the best tight end rookie season of all time. I would, especially in tight end premium leagues that I like to play in. I think Kyle Pitts is worth every penny you have to pay to go get him. I would pay 2 early first, 3 early first. I want Kyle Pitts on my team.
so the issue and why I didn't put him on here was I don't know if you could even trade for him. That's the only reason I kept him off from my. I'd move mountains for Kyle Pitts. I did in the 3rd and 20 league. I traded with Frank, who had just traded for him and got like an extra 2 second-round picks on top of what he gave up to get Kyle Pitts.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I'd move mountains for Kyle Pitts, but I don't know. He's like, it's kind of like Patrick Mahomes or Jonathan Taylor, except he's just this tight end who hasn't, he was like tight end 10 on the season so far. But
would you give like DeAndre Swift and 111 for Kyle Pitts in a tight end premium league?
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously, it depends on where I am in the league, but it like kind of it sounds crazy, but like it's Kyle Pitts.
Yeah, I just think that that's the type of deal that you kind of have to pull off in a tight end premium league for Pitts, right? I mean, there will be leagues where you could get him for cheaper. I could imagine, especially if there's someone that loves like a DeAndre Swift or if you have a nice quarterback. But when push comes to shove in tight end premium leagues, you're going to have to give up like an offer that just looks great, where you're getting a guy that they think is equal in DeAndre Swift plus another late 1st round pick. I just feel like that's the only way you're getting them. So you have to be confident enough to really pull the trigger on a guy like that.
Yep, I'd give everything, anything you wanted. That's not named like Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert, Kyler Murray, Josh Allen, anyone else that's on the table, any picks, anything they want.
It's gonna look so funny seeing Lunas pop in and out of this episode.
Yeah, hold on. Let me get while I'm getting Lunas in here, I'll go in for mine. Lunas, you're not on the stream right now. Okay, now you're on the stream. Are you? All right. Well, regardless, my trade target is Christian McCaffrey. I still think that Christian McCaffrey is heavily in my conversation for RB1. He's definitely behind Jonathan Taylor. Like, I think that the Jonathan Taylor is the consensus guy, but the fact of the matter is that Christian McCaffrey to me is really not far behind. This is a dude that whenever he plays, he's getting over 20 points a game in PPR leagues and even half-point PPR leagues. This guy's career averages are just ridiculous. Right now, he's at a very favorable price. According to Keep Trade Cut, which I think you may have to give a little bit more than this, but you could go 1-for-1, a Mark Andrews, Devontae Adams, Cooper Kupp, or DK Metcalf for him. I would love to do that. And even better, I think that Christian McCaffrey right now could be a really good breakdown piece where you have a guy, if you're looking to just trade one of these top tier assets, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, one of these dudes. If you don't want to get one of these guys, if you want to break one of these players down, I think that Christian McCaffrey is a guy that I would target in this, where you could get Christian McCaffrey plus for one of those players. Especially like if you're in a rebuild, I think that that's a move that could kind of quickly turn around your rebuild, where you get a running back that can absolutely carry you and then other assets to fill in the gap at that receiver spot. I think that Christian McCaffrey is just mispriced by the community. So whatever, not necessarily whatever you can take to get him, go and get him like a Kyle Pitts. I just think that for the price tag and where he's around on keep trade cut, I would definitely inquire the owner and see if you can get, or the manager, I should say, see if you can get him for around this RB5 price.
Chat wants to know: would you chase CMC in the middle of a rebuild?
Yeah.
So, okay,
mean,
this is a little bit of a
I mean-
weird thing because rebuild is kind of a subjective term. If you mean a rebuild, like you have players on your team and like with a couple of moves, you can make the playoffs and be a contender, yes. But if you're in a rebuild like we are in with our orphan team,
Yeah.
then maybe not. Because at that point, like if your team is so dog shit that you are just looking for players to park, right? You're just looking players and picks just to park value in so that you won't get boned, right? Maybe Christian McCaffrey's not the best player unless you can get him for just a very favorable deal, right? You're just getting him at a price that's not right. Okay, fine. Go ahead and get him. You should get any player like that. But if you were in a hard rebuild, no, I would not go for Christian McCaffrey because I'm just not super comfortable parking value into him. I think that if you're looking to take that step from rebuilder to contender, yes, go for Christian McCaffrey.
All right. Trying to speed run it, still moving.
Yeah, I
quick
did not
along.
speed run that. That is my fault.
Lounis.
He just.
Oh, I haven't-
He's so high.
He
I
ended
don't
the
think we
year
got
really
Lounis
well. He
today.
ended up still.
All right, Lounis. Sorry, bud.
Oh, is it not working on your guys' end? It's showing clear on my end.
Oh, okay. Wait. All right, go. Let's give us your trade target.
Oh,
See if you can get it off.
I've been able to hear you guys. Can you not hear me?
You were laggy before. Now you sound fine.
Oh, so you can hear me now. Okay, cool. Yeah, I apologize for my
Fine.
connection issues. So my buy high was Antonio Gibson. He ended the year really well. I feel like midway through the season, his value dipped a bit when he was dealing with that toe injury, and I felt the way he showed it, and he wasn't healthy the entire season, was kind of like a really upward trajectory heading next year. He's still only like 23 years old. I think over like the last second half of the season, in any game that like he played a majority of snaps for, he was like a lock for 13, 14 points, like into the 20s. And so I still feel like he's being underrated a little bit. Like he's behind J.K. Dobbins in the rankings, even though I like Dobbins a lot. So he'd be someone I'd buy high on because I think he maintains or increases.
All right. Well, I have him in our home league, Lounis. You want to trade for him? I'd trade you him.
I would trade for Antonio Gibson.
All right, for this next part, because we were supposed to speed run this, and of course, I always take the longest. Let's just go through one by one for medium and low. Say the player and the draft pick that you would want to give up for the player.
Okay.
How about that?
Kind of putting us on the spot. I like it.
Yeah.
All right. You want to kick us off then, Frank?
Yeah, I want D-Hop 201 or 112. Probably 201.
Really? You
All
give
right.
up? Oh well, yeah. I guess.
I think
You
it's
the other
relatively
person
fair.
accepts it.
I think that's definitely interesting, but depending on the league, I think you could get D-Hop for 201 right now.
All right. Well, I want Russell Wilson for 106.
I don't know. I feel like we're lowballing what we could give up for these people. What we could get. These
Dude, you
people with.
really don't think people would take 112 for D-Hop? You really don't think people would accept 112 for
Well,
D-Hop?
Jake has
Especially
D-Hop.
Yes.
Okay,
You-
but all
someone
right. Would you
take
trade?
that.
Would you trade Russell Wilson for 106? A mid first, you'd give up for. I mean, you would take for Russell Wilson.
Dude, the thing is, come draft time when Garrett Wilson's on the board, like
A Wilson for Wilson trade?
in this economy.
That'd be
All right, maybe. I don't know.
think-
I personally,
I
wouldn't give
would
up
go
Russell
higher.
Wilson.
I would give up. I'd give up 104 for Russell Wilson. I think at this point he's just being way undervalued. He's like quarterback 14 right now, which is just way too low for Russell Wilson. So
All right,
I
104
give
for
up.
Russell Wilson then.
All right.
Bang.
assuming the rookie draft's happening and I don't see any of Bell, Burks, London, or Wilson there where I'm picking, I give up anywhere from 111 to 201 is probably like a reasonable range. For Cortland Sutton, he's my pick.
Yeah, I think it definitely gets it.
All
in.
right.
So Ayuk's interesting because I was gonna say Ayuk. I think the owners would want a late first. Still like a 201, 202 doesn't get it. I think the highest I'd go on Ayuk's maybe like a 110. Because I still like him compared to some of those receivers that are going to go at the end of the first round. I'm still really high on Ayuk, and I think Trey Lance starting next year with more of a vertical passing game is actually going to benefit him.
All right, so what pick are you going? 110 for Ayuk?
I'd go 110.
All right, and then let's just go again with
Now we're going into buy
Your-
low, into our buy
your
lows.
buy low.
Buy low, yeah. Corey Davis, I like a lot still. He dealt with injuries this year, and the Jets offense didn't really get clicking until he was already like out of the lineup. And I feel Elijah Moore's success has just made Corey Davis even more like devalued. I think he was like wide receiver 60 when I saw him on Keep Track, which is really low for a receiver that we thought if he stayed healthy this year could have gone for 1,000 yards. So I see this as someone who like a contender can use like a later second round pick and try to buy him cheap this offseason. What do you guys think it would take around to get a Corey Davis?
I was thinking like 209, 210, come prime rookie hype.
Yeah.
Well,
No, I'd agree.
speaking of around those picks, that's about what I'd give up, maybe even a little higher for not Cortland Sutton, sorry, Tyler Boyd, who I think if he's on the Bengals, that's fine. I get he's behind Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, but like he still put up, nearly 828 yards. Like, he's just a very consistent flex play for a later second round pick. If he ends up not on the Bengals, he could be the second wide receiver on a better team, which could increase his value even more. But for me, Tyler Boyd's just a very consistent, solid play. So
GT, do you have Sutton higher than Judy? You do, right?
Yes.
All right, I'm going to go here with my guy. I mean, I feel like every 3 episodes, I hype my dude up. Dimey Brown 306, mid third. I've seen on Twitter people saying that they would love to get a mid third for Dimey Brown. Well, I'd love to give up a mid to late. I'd go for a late third first if I had one, but then I'd shoot up for a mid third if I had to.
All right, my guy, another rookie this year. It's Nico Collins. I think he's looked pretty good the back end of the season. If this Texans team can get any semblance of an offense going next season, I think he's the guy that steps into that, receiver 1 role on that team. I think he overtakes Brandon Cooks. Brandon Cooks plays on the opposite side in the slot, and Nico Collins will start getting more looks. I'm looking to give up, around late second, early third for him as well.
All right. Well, that's our trade targets.
Wait, real quick for a nugget for me and Jake's guys. Over 80%.
Okay.
If a day 2 or day 3 receiver has a top 24 season, over 80% of the time it's after their rookie year.
You lost. What do you mean? Like it won't be in their rookie year? That's why.
Yeah, they have like a 16% breakout rate. Like if they ever break out, over 80% of the time it's after year 1.
So in the second year they should break out.
Yes.
Second, third, I think there's both like an equal 32% chance in years 2 and 3.
Breakdown. Okay. So moving on. Let's go into the running back draft / rankings. So we're gonna do it, right again, just bang, bang, bang. Like we're doing it live. We have not pre-planned who's going what. So we're gonna talk some strategy into who we're picking as well.
We're just doing it bang, bang, bang. That's what we're doing.
Bang, bang, bang. All right. We'll make sure to try and repeat our picks. So if you're listening on the podcast, you can follow along with us as well. If you want an easier way, I think the YouTube is probably the best. Right? You're pulling it up, Frank?
Yeah. It's on the screen.
All right. So it's on the screen for you to follow along on YouTube. I don't know. I think our quarterback and wide receivers, there's stuff a lot of people agree with, stuff like Waddle falling to 17 that definitely.
You're lucky I was
Yeah, that
not
was
on the
kinda
pod
crazy.
that day. He's like a top 10 wide receiver.
I
That
think
was
we
kinda
did it
crazy.
again. He wouldn't fall. Like, even without you, Jake,
Yeah.
he probably wouldn't have fallen that far.
It's because
But,
Lounis, man. You give Lounis those back-to-backers, and some weird shit's gonna
Yeah.
happen.
My fault.
That is true. Yeah, I blame you too, Lounis. I don't know why. All right, but
Wait, who's
speaking
the
of-
colors? I'm yellow.
Yep,
Yes,
I'm blue.
I'm green.
Jake's blue.
JT's red and Lunas is green.
Oh, Lounis has got the back-to-backers again. Nice. This is gonna be wild. I like it though. Lounis is gonna shake some things up.
All right, Jake, you got a hard pick here. Who's just the running
Oh
back one
man,
overall?
really hard pick for me. It's obviously
Dalvin Cook.
Jonathan Taylor.
No, this draft does not include incoming rookies.
We are going to
Jonathan
talk
Taylor.
about an incoming rookie running back a little later, though.
Yeah, sorry, I went with my pick 2 before you went at 1.
That's
Well,
fine.
It was a real shocker who Jake was doing.
Yeah, I don't know who I was going to take, man. Really tough choice here.
All right, so Jake took Jonathan Taylor. Does there need to be an explanation for why you took him
No.
1?
No
No.
discussion. He finished RB1 on the season. He's young. I don't know.
He's on a good team. He has all the makings of a guy that. Well, good run offense. Put it that way.
Yeah.
All right, I
All right.
went at 2, and I took the guy that I was just hyping up earlier, CMC. He is currently my running back
Oh,
2. The injury concerns I don't really care that much about, and dude, to be completely honest, I'm looking at some of these running backs that are valued really highly right now, and I just don't really agree a ton with the community on some of these values. Najee Harris at RB2, DeAndre Swift RB3, Javonte Williams at RB4. That seems very hasty to me for all 3 of those players. I think that all 3 of them are a little bit overvalued. Especially considering the fact that Christian McCaffrey was better, other than maybe Najee Harris, which I think he was on a points per game basis. Christian McCaffrey was better than all 3 of these players, and not only that, he massively improved in year 2. So, honestly, if there's any indication with this, it's by Travis Etienne, I guess, because all these young running backs just if they have like 3
the
points,
stock goes
they
crazy.
just their stock goes crazy. I think that Christian McCaffrey is easily my RB2 in Dynasty right now. And the fact that, like, dude, Christian McCaffrey's like what, like 2 years older than Najee Harris, and he's in
So
such a favorable role.
This is just a little bit of a tangent, but what if the Panthers kind of transition McCaffrey into a Deebo Samuel-esque role where he's lining up in the slot a lot of the time and only taking, maximum 10 carries a game, and they just let Chuba Hubbard or whoever back they have be the real bruiser in that offense? It would significantly increase the career and the length of his career of Christian McCaffrey, just because he's not going to be getting hit as much.
Yeah, I don't know. I just think
they
that there
should do
isn't
that.
really a box that McCaffrey doesn't check. He's got crazy draft capital. The guy is literally fucking Superman when he's healthy. He can catch passes. He can run between the tackles. He's the ultimate
I'm not
running
saying
back right now.
he should be the RB2 right now. I completely agree with you, but I'm just saying, what if the Panthers would do something like that?
Yeah, all right. I'm now at 3, and as much as I love some of these guys, behind Jonathan Taylor and even CMC, who I don't even know if I'm willing. Like, I guess I'd say CMC is probably my running back too, but like after Jonathan Taylor, there's such a huge drop off, and to me, like any of these guys, like if I'm in a position where these are the top guys on the board, I think I'm probably just trading back and just picking up the value, because I think the value on all of these guys is pretty insane at this point. But I would be a fraud if I didn't pick DeAndre Swift here. So I'm gonna do it. Everyone's heard all my tangents and me going to bat against all of these guys about DeAndre Swift. He finished as the running back. It's not saying right now. Running back 24 in half PPR. I mean in standard, and then 15 in PPR, but that's only with 13 games. I don't have on a points per game kind of basis. But so many people point to, oh, this was DeAndre Swift in garbage time. He's not going to have that kind of volume and that kind of usage again. And I argue it could even be the opposite. Like, what if the Lions are more competitive? What if they're trying to keep I'm not willing to predict what DeAndre Swift's usage will be next year, an increase or decrease. I just think he's a talented back. People like to hate on his, in between the tackles ability, which does have question marks, but he was one of the most efficient goal line backs in his rookie year. He didn't really see that this year. If that changes next year, we could see another James Conner kind of season, like a James Conner season of this year from DeAndre Swift.
Swift was RB13 in points per game, half PPR.
Okay. Yeah, which I don't know. From watching all the games, I don't think I would have expected him to be any higher or lower. He had boom games, he had bust games.
All right, Looney, you're up. You're back to back.
Okay. If we're back to the age-old debate going back to the last draft of Najee versus Javonte. Luckily, I have 2 picks in a row, so I'm just going to take both of them. So I'll go Najee Harris first.
This guy.
And then Javonte at 5. So Najee is someone in terms of just the amount of touches he's almost locked in for per game. It's just so consistent. He has such a high floor on a week-to-week basis. I thought the Steelers' O-line was like shit. And I mean, I guess they weren't as bad as some people thought they were going to be, but he was producing a lot with getting hit in the backfield on a lot of his carries. I think if they bring in another quarterback next year, I could see it being an offense where, like, I guess it really depends who they bring in. But if it's like a younger quarterback or they draft someone, I imagine Najee Harris becomes an even bigger part of the offense where they can lean on him more. And as for Javonte, I feel like we've just all kind of seen the flashes. Like when he gets the chance to play a lot, he's been insanely productive. He's breaking tackles at I think the rate like only Jonathan Taylor was matching him at. We saw that Sunday night game or it was either Sunday or Monday night game when Melvin Gordon was out, I think against Kansas City, and he just went off. You see flashes of what he can do. The tough part is I don't think it's like a lock that Melvin Gordon is gone next year. Because he's actually been pretty good, but I just think his touches are going to go up, and he's shown enough for me to put him at that
top. I'll give a firm handshake to anyone here who could guess the 2 running backs that I'm currently between for running back 6.
Let me guess.
Alvin Kamara and Saquon Barkley.
To recap while you guys are saying, so Jonathan Taylor 1, CMC 2, Swift 3, Najee Harris 4, Javonte Williams 5, if you're on the podcast. Nope, it was not. Who'd you say, Frank? Barkley and Kamara? No. Jake,
I said Dobbins.
Dobbins and who, Lounis?
Dobbins and Mixon.
Oh, I got one of them.
Oh, not Dobbins and Mixon.
Dobbins and Chubb.
Yes, I'm between Dobbins and Chubb here. And
it's not like me.
I know. Well, these are
like a Pittsburgh Steelers defense.
Hey, these two are some of the Dobbins. After Jonathan Taylor, who's the king right now in rushing yards over expected, these two are probably the next in Dobbins and Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb being 2, Dobbins being 3. It's just a question of health and age and all this other stuff. Who's doing what? It's tough, but I'm just gonna roll with Chubb. I like Dobbins a lot, but Chubb is tried and true. I think we haven't seen him, get as much wear and tear as most running backs at his current age would typically get. I don't know how much. I'm not a doctor. I haven't done any studies on it. I don't know how much usage actually plays a role into how quickly you break down. But for me, Nick Chubb, running back 6.
Yeah, well, this is the spot where I would love to be picking running backs, is where JT just took Chubb and I just took Kamara here at 7. Now, I'd switch the 2 of them, but to me, these are just kind of no-brainer picks because I'm here. If this was, I guess, a real draft, right? I'm taking guys that I both think will be wearing gold jackets by the time they're done. Nick Chubb and Alvin Kamara as the 6th and 7th best running backs. You can make all the reasons why you would rather have some of these other younger backs over them with the longevity and whatnot, but I'm just not going to overcomplicate it. These are the 2 of the top 5 most talented running backs in the league right now, and no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I just
Fair enough.
value Kamara slightly higher than Chubb because in PPR leagues, I'm assuming this is half PPR, with Kamara's receiving output, even with a ridiculously inconsistent Saints offense, the guy is still, I'm pretty sure, top 12 in PPR points per game, and just over the length of his career, he's just been higher in points per game than Nick Chubb.
I also think
Fair.
the thing with Kamara is his receiving ability. His career is going to go longer. Like he'll be productive.
Yeah, Alvin
for
Kamara
longer
was
than, like, a
RB5 in points per game, and dude, like
Oof.
we had Simeon, we had some Jameis, we had Taysom fucking Hill, we had Ian goddamn Book one of these games. All right, it was just the damn we're talking about the coaching carousel. It's the Saints quarterback carousel over there in New Orleans.
All right, Jake, we're up to you now with back-to-back picks.
I like where I'm sitting as well. Right here, I'm going with the guy that I thought you were going to take, and that's Joe Mixon. I just really like the Cincy offense. I think he's going to be around for the next I think he has a really good 3-year outlook with this offense in Cincinnati, and Joey B at quarterback. And the other guy is Giants, baby. Giants, Saquon Barkley. I think he's had a really down year. I just think the Giants as a whole are an absolute mess. We've seen Saquon Barkley. He was coming off, a big knee injury. I think you give him another season of rehab and strengthening that knee and maybe getting a competent offensive coordinator in New York, and you're going to see Saquon Barkley that we recognize more. So I think he's still a top 10 running back. He's only 24. So at 9, that's who I'm going with, is the super high upside of Saquon Barkley.
I think I'm gonna have to go for some upside here and take the guy that has fallen a little bit. I know everyone's been considering him for this pick, but that's J.K. Dobbins at 10. Fact of the matter is like I was close to taking Eckler because Eckler is another PPR monster. Now I'm probably admittedly a little bit lower on Eckler than consensus, but he definitely proved me wrong this year. But dude, J.K. Dobbins, if he comes out there and has a couple of good games and a very favorable Ravens offense for running the football, this guy's going to shoot up to potentially a top 5 dynasty running back. So getting him at 10, it's probably around consensus where he's at, but it seems pretty darn good to take him there.
Yeah, and now we're talking dynasty, so Eckler and Dalvin Cook feel like they should be already gone. And I actually like Eckler. I'm not as high on Dalvin Cook and his future outlook. I think we're going to see a big fall off sooner rather than later compared to Eckler. But
RIP, my sweet prince.
I think I'm going to do it. I was low on him going into the season before the injury happened. But now I think I'm going Cam Akers here at 11.
Wow.
I like that. Cam the Ram.
Yeah, I think if he comes back, like I know we were talking about the Achilles injury when it happened. I just think he's already come back so quick. He's already playing in games. He hasn't really done anything yet, though. But I think the fact that he's already back and already ready to go into the postseason and play running back for the Rams, like this was a guy who was considered a top 5 dynasty running back, before the injury happened. Now, who knows? I personally, I thought top 5 was a little too high, but now that he's fallen all the way down to 11 because of his injury, where I'm picking him, I think his outlook is fine. I think he has the abilities to be a bell cow back, and for at least 3 years, which I don't think you could say about many other players who are currently left on the board.
Oh, now we got Looney with the back-to-back again. Let's see what he does.
All right, fucking up.
Okay. With 12, I'm going to take the guy I was just talking about earlier, Antonio Gibson. Still, again, it's a lot of the cases I made earlier. Still only 23 years old. Just had an RB1 season where he was battling toe injury for a lot of the middle of the year. The end of the season stretch he had was really impressive from, I think, like week 10 on. And I'm buying into him. I think their offense is also just going to get better next season.
No surprise there.
So I'm taking Antonio Gibson, and he'll be healthy, hopefully. My next one, I'm going Eckler. He's fallen a couple spots. I just think, he's tied to right side of Justin Herbert. He's just always going to be producing. This year, he was what, like RB2, RB3 this season. He was somewhere in that top 3 in half PPR, and then I can only imagine PPR. He was insane this year. So I'm taking Eckler there. He's still 26, but he's not someone that's really been like torn down like a between the tackles runner, and he's more used in the receiving game. So I feel good about Eckler here.
Yeah, Eckler definitely fell a little bit too far for a guy that just had about 20 points per game PPR.
Yeah.
Well,
I haven't had any controversial picks yet.
Now I'm back picking between two guys that did fall too far, or at least in my opinion, and that's Dalvin Cook and Derrick Henry. And I don't know. I'm going to be a Dalvin Cook hater, I guess, here. I'm just going to go with Derrick Henry. Man was literally on pace to be the running back one this season before his injury. I get that he's a couple years older than Dalvin Cook, but to me, I think he's got that Adrian Peterson kind of arc to him where we're going to see Derrick Henry until he's like 35 years old, just still being on running back somewhere.
I can see it.
So, yeah. King Henry, if he's healthy for next year, he's already supposed to be back for the playoffs. Like, if he's fully healthy and ready to go, I don't see why he's not in high contention for running back one overall again.
Oh, if he's healthy, he's definitely going to finish in at least the top 3.
Yeah, I don't really love picking here because I'm not going to be taking Dalvin Cook.
We are a Dalvin Cook hating
Why?
podcast.
Why?
I would.
I mean, actually, I've been low on Dalvin Cook for a while.
Yeah, you traded him for a man with no knees.
I have him in one of my leagues still. Like, I don't think he's bad. It's just there's players I'd rather have than him. And
just for reference, he traded Dalvin Cook plus for Todd Gurley.
So on the
and I still finished better than you this year.
Not adopted.
You have to rub that in.
I'm gonna go with my guy. I was thinking about potentially taking ETN here, but I'm gonna go with David Montgomery.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
That one feels high to me.
Yeah. The thing is that I think
it's exactly where he's ranked on Keep Trade Cut, running back 15.
Well, the thing with David Montgomery is I think he's got a much higher ceiling than people appreciate. And if you look at his stats, you could definitely get turned off from David Montgomery. But when you watch the Bears games, there's one dude who's got the X factor on that offense. And to me, that's David Montgomery. The guy's just an absolute fucking animal. You're just hoping the offense improves and that the coaching staff still believes in him and gives him that RB1 volume. But I think he averaged like 13.5 points per game PPR wise. I think that could easily improve next season, especially if the Bears invest a little bit into their offensive line, get a little bit more consistency up front. So I think that David Montgomery could have with just a marginal increase, he could really shoot up in value.
So what you're saying about David Montgomery, though, is kind of what my concern is with him and Dalvin Cook is the new coaching staff. And I guess somewhat Saquon too. Like the new coaching staff, they don't have new GMs potentially. They don't have loyalty to the guy. They're aging running backs who only have David Montgomery's not, but like there's not going to be any loyalty for David Montgomery for his contract, his second contract. There's not going to be for Cook for his third contract. Saquon for his second. There's no loyalty there. So to me, I don't like running back switching places. Like I don't like them going to different teams. So that's kind of what has caused me to drop a lot of these guys below in my.
Yeah, I guess I just think that David Montgomery, the talent, is what I care about more so than the coaching staff. And this is a dude that I think he's about to go into like that 24, 25-year-old season where it's like, this is the year where I think we're going to really see the full package David Montgomery and really see him blossom coming into that real ripe prime.
All right. Now who's up? We got
back-to-back Jakers. Here, you can go ahead and have your guy Dalvin Cook.
At running back 16, it's just a crime. The man, when he's healthy and he's playing, he's an absolute beast. We've seen it this year. He's still going to put up big numbers when he's out there. I like JT said, this coaching staff is going to be changing in Minnesota. A little bit of cause of concern, but when you have a guy like Dalvin, you're going to feed him no matter who's calling the plays. The question with Dalvin is obviously his outlook. Can he stay healthy? How much more does he have in those legs? He is going to be 26 next year, or 27 next year, I think. So he's getting to that age where running backs start to just fall off a cliff real quick. So I guess that's kind of built into this running back 16 price, but he's just too good to pass up here.
Yeah, see, that's my concern with Dalvin, is that he's not a great athlete. I mean, he's like an average athlete. He's definitely a good player, but I don't see the RB1 production continuing. I mean, you take away that Pittsburgh game, and he basically had a David Montgomery year, and I think that David Montgomery just has that potential to increase. Where I don't see Dalvin Cook getting better from here, to be honest.
That's fair. I mean, his best years are probably behind him, and that's why last year was probably the year to get off Dalvin Cook if you were looking to trade him. And at this point, I don't know how much you could probably get for him, but I think that's, like I said, that's built into this running back 16 cost.
All right, Jake, who are you going here?
This one might surprise you. I'm going with Elijah Mitchell at running back 17. I think
I didn't want him by
Matt Hill does not like Nick Chubb at 6. I'm not sure you dude. This is a Nick Chubb podcast, Matt Hill. Apparently,
yeah, we're high Nick Chubb people.
Yeah, back to Elijah Mitchell. I just like the San Fran offense. I think Shanahan found a guy that he really likes, and he's going to stick with him. He missed a couple games. People thought, Jeff Wilson was going to take carries. Trey Sermon was going to take carries. People are going to say Mostert's going to come back and take carries. I think we've seen it. When Mitchell's healthy, he's the guy in San Francisco, and I think it's just a good offense to be tied to as a running back.
Well, I'm gonna take Travis Etienne here at 18. Man, there are some really good running backs to invest in around this portion of ranking, it seems like, for their price. But dude, Travis Etienne, I mean, you talk about a guy that, like, if he has mid-tier RB2 production that some of his, draft mates have had in their rookie season, this guy is going to go flying up the board, right? And, there's definitely reasons why you're concerned because, the coaching staff that drafted him isn't there, right? Everyone wants Balky fired in Jacksonville. So, like, what the GM that drafted him might not be there for much longer. But the fact of the matter is that Travis Etienne is a talented back, and he fits the modern NFL skill set. This guy had the second highest forced missed tackle rate that I personally tracked of the running back last year. He's really good in the passing game. Listen, I'm not going to come out here and say I was the biggest Travis Etienne fan in the world. He was my RB3, but this dude, it feels like he's near the bottom of his value for me personally, especially where you have Elijah Mitchell going before him. So I think that Travis Etienne at 18 is a fantastic pick for upside.
Upset you took Etienne here because it just got really gross for me. I don't think I want to invest in any of these guys, to be honest. I'm kind of
Dalvin Cook at 16, David Montgomery at 14.
No, I'm talking about
the guys. I'm
talking about where I am now. Like, I
was more so now. Like this run that has just recently happened. No. It feels like it's nice for the value.
No, I hate where I'm at currently and who I have to pick between.
There's still a couple guys that I like.
Yeah.
Like Josh Jacobs. No. Aaron Jones is really cheap here.
Yeah, he's really cheap, but like how many years of Aaron Jones and what level of production am I getting Aaron Jones?
Rashad used to be a fraud, but is now apparently good. Penny?
Yeah,
I don't know what that is.
I kind of like how he's been playing so far, but like I'm not willing to reach that high for him currently. It's just a question of like I don't like CEH, but I feel like the upside of CEH could still be there to the point. No, you know what? I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna take Tony Pollard.
Tony Pollard.
Oh my god.
And
Okay.
hear me out. Hear me out. I think Zeke's washed. I think Ezekiel Elliott is no longer capable of being the lead
You're a
back
sheep.
for the Cowboys. The sheep.
Stop being a sheep.
I'm looking at the games. I'm looking at the data. Like there's Tony Pollard is a much more explosive, productive, efficient running back than Zeke Elliott. And it's still a solid, like a somewhat decent Cowboys offensive line. He's tied to Dak. I think with an increase in volume from Tony Pollard, we can see a borderline RB1 season from Tony Pollard next year, where his value is just going to skyrocket from where it's at currently. Because unlike the guys like Josh Jacobs and CH who have first-round draft capital, who I don't think have an incredibly bright future, I think Tony Pollard could be that lead guy for Dallas.
All right, guys, we got to pick up the pace a little bit here.
Yeah. It was also a gross pick though. Like I just hate in reality, I'm not picking any of these guys. I'm moving out of the spot and letting someone else take someone.
All right, Looney Tunes. 20 and 21.
Yeah, we knew he was taking Aaron Jones.
I'm just taking Aaron Jones. I know a big part of it is if Aaron Rodgers is in Green Bay still. But he's put together, I think now last year was his 4th straight RB1 season. They love using him in the receiving game and in the running game. It's a high-scoring offense. So I'll just take him at RB20 value, especially with where he's finished the last couple of years. And then 21, this is kind of tough. I was between Jacobs and can you guys guess the other 2 guys I was in between?
No, we're not doing this guessing shit.
At this,
it's CH and Miles Sanders.
Yeah.
Shocking. Never would have guessed.
Yeah. I actually Michael Carter a little bit too. But no, Josh Jacobs, I think the injury concerns are an issue. But I think when he's healthy, he's still producing a lot. And especially the offense doesn't really have a ton of weapons outside of Darren Waller and Renfro. So I still think he's going to be a huge part of it next season. And he's
like a mid-tier RB2 with RB1 upside that you're getting as a low-end RB2.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Again, I hate it here. I'm doing everything I can with picks 19 and 22 to either trade up or trade just down and get, similar level players and change on top of it. So I don't like any of these running backs. But at this point, I'll just take Clyde Edwards-Helaire and hopefully he ends up somehow finding the end zone as a goal line back with his also catching upside. Maybe I'll just put CEH here. Let everyone understand what CEH is. Yeah.
Wait, what is CEH? What does that mean?
It's just gross. Like I don't like any of these spots.
It's a K.
All right, I'm gonna be going with Michael Carter. I don't necessarily love it, but I mean, going back to my forced missed tackles, I'm pretty sure he was numero tres on my forced missed tackle tracking from last year. I thought he looked pretty damn good for the Jets as well on tape. Like, I watch a lot more Jets games than people should, and he's looked good. This is an offense that, if the interior of their offensive line improves a little bit at moving people, and you get some semblance of consistency at the left tackle spot, because you had Becton go down, and George Fant came in and played really well, but then with George Fant now has been inconsistent and off the field, you have McGovern, I'm pretty sure, playing at left tackle, and that's just a fucking nightmare. You have to assume that not every season the Jets left tackle is going to be out for the year, and then the backup also being out for multiple games. So you get some consistency up front. This is you have Mike LaFleur, who that scheme seems to produce running backs very well. He could easily have a low-end RB1, mid-tier RB2 year next year.
All right. Well, that leaves me up.
Back-to-backers.
This is a horrible spot, but I'm going to take a guy that I absolutely love, and I will continue to love to the day he's out of the league, and that's Kareem Hunt. I think I'm probably too high on him. I'll admit it, but I love Kareem Hunt. I think he does absolutely everything for an offense. He can run the ball, catch the ball, does great in pass pro. So he's a guy that I think is probably going to be on a different team next year. The Browns have pretty much an out in his contract. There's no dead cap. I'd love to see him have a more prominent role in a on a team come next year.
See, that's the thing. I don't really think that Hunt. Like, if I'm the Browns, I'm trying to keep Hunt because I think he's just a good player. And with Kareem Hunt, like, you can see how much better the Browns are. But if he does change teams, that could be huge for him because he could easily be that Leonard Fournette kind of a guy where he goes to a contender that needs a running back and has a good ass RB1 season, and you pick him up at a really cheap price.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I can definitely see him seeing. I was gonna say I could see him having like the type of season. Go ahead, Jake.
If he ends up in Buffalo, all hell is going to break loose on these rankings. Just because everyone's going to lose their mind.
I would want him in like Miami.
No, because I feel like at that point,
that's another great spot too. If he ends up,
he'd finish top 10 if he went to Buffalo.
Probably.
Yeah, he'd finish top 10 if he went to Buffalo.
So, just to try to keep things moving along, the guy I have.
Yeah, he could be your backup kicker.
Jeez.
Anyways,
I was wondering if you're going to drop that.
Okay,
go ahead.
Oh my God! Wait.
Anyways,
that took me a minute.
Lounis was loading.
Yeah.
Guy I have here, I'm gonna go Damian Harris.
I thought about him.
Yeah, I just think he's played well. He's proven to be a safe player in that New England offense. I think Bill trusts him, and that's one of the biggest things that you can get from a Pats running back is that Bill Belichick won't bench you at the first sign of a fumble. So, with that being said, I think at running back 25 here, it's not a bad idea.
All right, back to Frank.
Oh man, there's like 5 guys that I want to pick here. But I think I've narrowed it down to Leonard Fournette or James Robinson.
Ooh. I thought about playoff Lenny.
I think I'm just going to
Lombardi
take
Lenny?
Fournette. No, I'm not. I'm going to take James Robinson. I hate it. I honestly hate this. But
Frank going with a bold strategy of taking both Jaguars running backs.
Yeah, well, a wise man once said, sometimes you just got to buy a ticket to the raffle, Sometimes you just got to say, hey, the guy's produced. I don't know what the fuck is going to happen, but I'm on the roller coaster, baby. At RB26, we're getting on. It could be a horrible pick. It could be the best pick. You have no idea. Just welcome to the shit show, baby. Like,
No one's picked Miles Sanders yet, right?
No.
All right, so I'll just take Miles Sanders before Lucas can. Yeah, I mean, I was between the two backups in AJ Dillon and Ramondre Stevenson, but I might as well just go with the guy who is starter, even though this was a very disappointing. I mean, he's got to score a touchdown at some point, and while it wasn't this year, next year, I gotta imagine.
And apparently we're low at AJ Dillon.
Much lower than consensus, apparently. I don't know. It's tough.
It's hard for me to take him.
I was going to
be happy.
Take AJ Dillon next.
Yeah, at 28, I don't mind it, but it's hard.
I was going to take him at
29 than that
or 28.
Feel bad.
All right, so
no, I agree with that. I think the consensus ranking is kind of high now. Yeah, I took him at 28. I think that value is great, but where he is now at like RB19, RB20 on a lot of sites, it's too high for me.
He is,
but I like him though. He's been pretty good.
RB20, and Aaron Jones is running back 21. That makes no sense to me. I understand AJ Dillon's younger, but like, as long as LaFleur is there, I see this being pretty much what it was this year, a split backfield.
Yeah, exactly.
And who's your next pick, Lounis?
He doesn't really get the receiving work. My next pick here is just kind of tough.
Someone please take Ezekiel Elliott.
Oh, I honestly forgot he existed.
Someone please take Ezekiel
I would have taken Zeke over James Robinson.
Here's all the hate towards my Tony Pollard pick, and you guys are worried to take Zeke in the top 30.
I'm taking playoff Lenny.
Oh God!
In that Brady offense, he's just been insane.
Here we go.
What's happening?
This is what we're gonna do. All is right in the world.
Who did you take out?
Okay.
I just swapped because I would have taken Zeke. I honestly forgot he existed.
It's about Zeke.
He owns Zeke and he forgot about him.
3rd and 20 fraud.
Yeah. But I have the power, so I'm switching it up. So Zeke is going at 26. Who are you taking at 30? Wait, who went at 30?
Well, no, now I'm up at 30. Lounis just took.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, you're not taking James Robinson.
Who, me?
Yeah. No
Oh, so you
shot.
want James Robinson there? I mean, don't bait me into taking him. No, I mean, the reason that kept me from picking Damian Harris was Ramondre Stevenson exists, and Ramondre Stevenson always gets top PFF grades and everything. I think he can be a very efficient goal line back too. So I'm just gonna go with Ramondre.
I'm picking James
I'm a
Robinson
bigger
at 31. Going on the
Okay.
roller coaster here. Jake, you're up back-to-back 32-33.
It's starting to get tough here. At 32, I'm gonna go Chase Edmonds.
Whoa.
Yeah. I just think
What,
I don't know.
36, 37?
I don't trust James Conner there. I think he's the better back. So I think
You want to know what
Cliff
we're
Kingsbury-
starting to get into? Look at this snack I'm having. Wasabi, soy, almonds. These are the types of running backs that we're picking up here.
I don't know what that means.
I don't have a clue what that means.
Well, it's just like,
and-
whose go-to snack is wasabi, soy, almonds? You know, like, these are the types of running backs we're picking.
And I guess with my next pick, I'm gonna take. I don't like any of these guys, but yes, I'm
getting ugly.
going with Melvin Gordon. I don't know.
Oh. Yeah, this is just a gross here. It's
Don't worry, Parker.
That's-
Parker in the chat. I
What
got
Parker
you,
said?
bro. I'm going with Penny.
I can't.
Oh, fuck,
I
I
couldn't
wanna
do
take
it.
this.
I thought about it, but I couldn't do it.
Yeah, the thing is that we've seen this before. You know, it's like all right, too many Harry Potter references. No, like we've seen guys late bloom as running backs, and especially that were high draft picks, come out here, have some success, be given a shot, and become decent RB1s. That Bengals dude, what's his name?
I'm just
Cedric Benson.
Yeah, Cedric Benson's an example where like he was a high draft pick, didn't work out in Chicago, comes out, has a decent little couple of games at the end of his tenure, gets given a shot, and then bang, he's
Do we-
an RB1 for a couple seasons.
Do we want to know your Harry Potter reference that you were going to make there?
Yeah, I have.
No, it's fine.
I don't know what you're going to go with there. Late bloomers becoming something. All right, whatever. Rashad Penny, 34. Me, I'm now at 35 again. Khalil Herbert or Kenneth Gainwell. Let's go in between.
Gainwell.
I was looking at Gainwell.
No, you know what? I was higher on Frank and I were higher on Khalil Herbert than consensus during the draft. I thought he looked nice when he did get playing time for the Bears. I'm just gonna go with Khalil Herbert.
Oh, boo. Oh, shit.
Oh, why am I getting booed?
Because you're getting booed. I like Herbert. They're good
Lounis.
whenever you got
Lounis,
touches.
you're up. Back to backers.
Should have taken my boy, Kenneth Gainwell.
Yeah.
That's what I'm about.
Well, where's
Take.
Ken here?
I'm taking Kenneth Gainwell. I see the Eagles kind of using him long term as like the receiving back. We
shit.
saw little
Nope.
bits of it this
Nope.
season. They went away
There we
towards
go.
the end of the year, but they're guys like Boston Scott and Jordan Howard probably aren't going to be there next season. So I expect Gainwell to be a lot more involved. And he's decent the last week of the season as a starter. My next pick, this is just purely for upside and nothing that he's done. I'm taking Trey Sermon
Oh.
Oh.
in the.
Oh my.
And
You're taking Trey Sermon over all these running backs that are available?
I'm taking
Bro,
Trey Sermon.
You're just. That's just not true.
So
That's
you
just
have
not
James
true.
Conner, who
That's
actually
just
played,
not
just had an
true.
RB year. Daryl
Yeah.
Henderson, the
Yes.
guy that you are just madly in love with.
Yeah.
Madison, Singletary. Chuba Hubbard.
Freaking
I
Cordarrelle
considered
Patterson is
Madison
still
Henderson.
alive.
Oh, we can't
we
draft
can't-
Cordarrelle. We can't pick
We're
him.
taking. Nah, I don't know what.
I'm
he is.
taking Trey Sermon purely on upside. I don't know.
You're out of your mind.
Ayuk was in the doghouse for the first half. I don't know, but Shanahan changes his fucking running backs like clothes. Like he's just swapping win out one for the other constantly. So that's purely an upside pick.
Yeah. All right.
JT hasn't shit on me too
I'm
much.
just gonna
for it.
take James Conner.
Yeah, there you go. Thank you.
I don't know. Like Sermon's fine. Like I really like Sermon, but like if you're not getting any playing time right now and you're being like healthy scratched and everything, it's hard to say. All right, are we picking Cordell Patterson? I didn't even know if he was allowed.
Okay, we can say Cordarrelle Patterson isn't allowed then.
Yeah,
I
we're
know
gonna say
that
he's
was
not
a
allowed
question mark.
because I think he would have gone before this if we were taking Cordell Patterson.
All right, well, I'm gonna. This is like a ballsy pick, but like at RB39, who fucking cares? That's Devin
That's how
Singletary.
I felt about RB19. Once you're outside the RB15, like who cares? Like you're all.
Devin Singletary is a
place.
guy that's been given a chance here in Buffalo now in the past bunch of games and has really been performing. Like I said it a couple weeks ago on the other podcast. Like everyone's saying, "Oh, Buffalo needs a running back." Buffalo, this like, dude. If you look at the games, Devin Singletary has been playing well, and he's been giving them good running back production. So, if they decide that they would rather, they trust Devin Singletary and rather go somewhere else with their draft picks and free agent cash, like Devin Singletary could be a nice little cheap investment that pans out.
All right.
Back to back for Jake.
The
Back
second
to
round
back for
value.
me. I'm gonna take Darrell Henderson. I think this is way too low for him. Running back 40 is just. He had a pretty good season.
Yeah,
obviously
I feel like I should have
coming
taken
back
him.
is going to affect his value. And Sony Michel's even played really nicely, filling in for him while he's been hurt. So I think running back 40, there's no wrong answers here. I think Darrell Henderson provides some upside. And at 41, I'm going to take Chris Carson.
Whoa. I'll take it.
Okay.
I mean, again, it's running back 41. I think he's a guy that you can get for pennies at this point just because of Rashad Penny, one. And two, he's just always injured. He's an aging running back. But I think he probably has a nice bounce back season next year. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
All right, back to Frank.
42, I'm going to go with Chuba Hubbard because there's the rumors that CMC is looked to be traded. Well, instantly, if he's traded, Hubbard doesn't even have to play. His value will increase. So Chuba Hubbard, I think, is a nice little value buy there.
All right. Well, speaking of instant value increases and players leaving, why not Dearness Johnson from the Browns?
Yep.
Kareem Hunt potentially gone. We know
That's a nice
that they
pick.
don't like to give Nick Chubb the full workload.
Fucking Sermon went.
Yeah. Yeah. No, we all
Sermon.
we all agree.
Except Lounis.
Except
apparently.
Lounis, yeah.
Sermon
All right,
next season.
I don't even
The
know how. I
comeback.
think that's how you spell Dearness. Dearness Johnson. All right, Lunis. I think these are your last two picks here. Yeah, so use them wisely, Lunis. Last two.
My first one. Because he's still really young. He's still only 24 years old. I'm gonna go Ronald Jones. I know
who's
this
gonna
year
take
he
the Rojo bait.
The Rojo bait is right.
I mean,
We
this year,
scared
he
Lunis
did
off
lose his
the
starting
up
job
airs.
to Leonard Fournette, but Leonard Fournette has played really fucking well this season. Oh no, I'm back. Okay, I was about to say, I was like, oh, did I get kicked for picking Ronald Jones? I'm productive, but he's still only 24 years old, gonna be a free agent. I thought he looked good last season when he was the starter. He's had some flashes here and there this year, but he hasn't gotten a ton of touches. But I'll just take him here. It's not like there's a whole ton of other guys that I like here. And then,
All right.
sorry, I forgot,
Again, buddy.
back. My next one, has he been taken yet? Oh, give me Madison. Fuck it.
There it is.
I thought Madison was really productive this year when he had to fill in for Dalvin Cook. Like Jake is someone who had Cook and Madison. I feel like Madison was a very solid handcuff for you this.
I mean, at this point,
Yeah.
you really can't. You can't own one without the other. If you have Cook, you need Madison. If you have
You
Madison, I
can't
guess
roster one without the other.
That guy.
All right, JT, let's wrap this up.
Yeah, I mean, just a knock on Maston was 2 of the 4 games that he was super productive in were against the Lions. Anyway, it's gross. It's gross. It's gross.
It's gross.
I want to pick a stash. Just someone to get on my team. I'm gonna go with Chris Evans. I don't know what the deal is with Joe Mixon when Joe
Chris
Mixon will be
Evans.
gone. Look, it's my last pick of the draft. I gotta pick someone I like. There's just like a go get your guy here. In reality, you could probably wait like 5 or 6 picks to get Chris Evans, but I mean, we just saw him score a touchdown last week for the Bengals. I think he can be a solid fantasy play when he is, or if given the role. And so I'm just he's my little taxi stash at the end of this rankings draft.
I'm gonna take
Okay.
Sony Michel because there might be a chance that he can find a role in free agency. Maybe. Who knows?
And at 48, I'm going Jarrett Patterson. I think he's looked pretty decent in the past few weeks. I think he could have a role in Washington there behind Antonio Gibson. So.
All right, well, there she is. There's the running back draft. Yeah,
Yep.
Gaskin's still there.
Maybe sound off in the comments who you think had the best draft, taking into consideration where everyone was picking and everything. Blue was Jake, yellow was Frank, red was me, JT, and green was Lounis.
I'm trying to think who
I don't know.
some of the top names left off. Naheem Hines wasn't picked, but nothing really.
I think once you're getting down to the 40s, like they're just like
it gets bad.
Handcuffs and just speculative ads. But all right, let's move on into the last segment. We'll be breaking down 2 players. Frank, who do you want to queue up first to break down?
That's a good question. So we're gonna be talking about Isaiah Spiller and Jameson Williams on the doing a little deep dive. Let's go with Isaiah Spiller first because this is someone that I find very interesting. I've been trying to find a pro comp for him. Did I end up putting a pro comp on the draft doc? No, I don't have one. So Isaiah Spiller, he's 6'1", 225-pound running back, 20 years old, out of Texas A&M. He's a consensus top 3 running back right now in the 2022 draft class. And to be completely honest, I think that he's slightly overpriced by the community right now. I see him consistently going in the top half of first rounds of rookie drafts, and I don't necessarily agree with that evaluation. If I were to compare, price him in recent rookie draft picks, I think that he's closer to more of like a Michael Carter-esque prospect than he is to a Najee Harris. Arian Foster, I don't necessarily love the Arian Foster pro comp. Now, one of the big reasons why I don't love Isaiah Spiller is because of this right here. This is my force missed tackle tracking. As you can see, it's very complete right now with only Isaiah Spiller on there. But he's got currently a .306. It's like a 31% force missed tackle rate on touches. But what I really don't like is just the force missed tackle rate on runs alone at just shy of 21%. So if we go into the 2021 prospects that I tracked, wait, that's the data. Here we go. 21% is like Kylan Hill, Jermar Jefferson. I have Isaiah Spiller in the table, but he's lower than basically everyone other than late day 3 or undrafted level prospects of the guys that I tracked last year. So I just don't love that because I like my running backs to be able to break tackles. It's not the end all be all, but I do like that. Now, the one thing I will say about Isaiah Spiller before I throw it off to you guys is that he's kind of a really well-rounded prospect that has elite level horizontal quickness. if you watch tape on him, the first thing that you'll see is that his jump cuts and his, just his horizontal moves consistently is the way that he makes defenders miss. And on top of that, it's not like he's a small dude and it's not like he plays small, right? When he goes through the hole, like he can run between the tackles, he'll hit people, he'll be able to drag guys for a couple extra yards here and there. And not only that, he's actually pretty damn good in the passing game as well. So like he's kind of almost like a jack of all trades, master of horizontal quickness. Doesn't break a ton of tackles in the run game. Vision could be better, but it's not bad. So I'm curious as to what you guys think about him. I probably have him as like in the NFL draft, a very late second round, early third round type of prospect.
Okay, I'm thinking he's more of like a mid-second to me, but semantics, I guess. To me, I think you kind of undersold his pass catching ability. I think he's a very good, I think he has the ability to be a very good pass catching back, but I am concerned about his, like you said, his forced missed tackles. And what I'm more concerned about is while I'm seeing him play, like, yeah, he does break off some long runs, but like he doesn't have that elite separator of like he can just burn down the field once he's in open space. I see linebackers who are able to at least get a little bit of burst of speed and shoe tackle him. I see like he's in that open field. You're not seeing the Jonathan Taylor, like you're not seeing the Derrick Henry of just like he's in open space, he's not getting tackled. Like if he's in open space, you can get him. Safeties can run across the field and grab Isaiah Spiller and bring him down. Like, and that's the separate. That's the difference between a 4.5 point play and a 10.5 point play, getting into the end zone and everything. So, it's like I don't know, nitpicking at this point. I think he's still very much my second rate running back. He's got good measurements and everything, but I think you're right, Frank. It's tough for me to comp him, first of all, and it's tough for me to put him in such a high regard of the likes of the 2020 draft where you had Jonathan Taylor, DeAndre Swift, J.K. Dobbins, even Cam Akers.
Yeah, just real quick on stream, if you're watching, like, here's exactly what you like in Isaiah Spiller in the run game. It's just look at these two horizontal moves. One to, quick sidestep of that unblocked edge player, and then a running back tries to, or like this linebacker tries to undercut a block here from a tight end, and once again horizontal quickness to easily get by him, drag a guy for a couple of extra yards. Like, you could definitely be sold on Isaiah Spiller as one of the top running back prospects. Like, I'm definitely not saying that, but I feel like my pro comp for him right now, and this sucks to say, and he's definitely a better player in this, is like Kylan Hill from last year, the Mississippi State running back. I think I was definitely a lot higher on him than the NFL was. I mean, not much higher. I wasn't a huge Kylan Hill guy. There were guys last year, draft people, saying Kylan Hill's a second round, early third round kind of prospect. I had him more as like a fourth round kind of guy, but he ended up going, I believe, really late in the second round, or not in the seventh round, excuse me, to the Packers, right? Or maybe undrafted to the Packers. I mean, he's decent in he's pretty damn good in pass pro. Really, no concerns there. His ball security's fine. I only saw one fumble through 3 games or 4 games. Lounis and Jake, what do you guys think about him? What would you take him?
So I kind of am more in
higher
the
on
same
him
boat as
than
you, Frank.
you
I
guys.
think he's a very good prospect. I think that he's a very good prospect, but he's being drafted as a great prospect. He's being drafted or at least projected to be drafted in the top 5 of dynasty rookie drafts, about that. And when you think of a running back that you take that high, you're expecting, the guys that were taken in the first round of the NFL draft. You're expecting the guys that have this elite talent level, and not that he doesn't have it, but it's just there's some holes in his game that I'd really like to see improved. I think it's going to depend on his combine. If he runs really well at the combine, I think that's going to boost his draft stock a lot. Because he is a bigger back, but at the same time, if he could show that breakaway speed that we see in, Derrick Henry, not that he's as big as Derrick Henry, obviously, but some of the other bigger backs in the league, if he could show not get caught by those quicker linebackers, not get caught by those safeties, it's going to be a big thing to these NFL teams. And the other thing is, for a bigger back, his missed tackles is not great. Frank said it. I'd like to see him be able to shed some tacklers and create these longer runs. To me, he's he's more of boom bust running back where he has a lot of 3, 4, 3, 3, 2, 1, 5, a lot of those short runs, and then he'll break one for 30 yards. And I'd like to see some more consistency in his game. But on the pro side, he is, like JT said, a good pass catcher, which is why he's currently being drafted this high in rookie drafts, because PPR is the way that most people play nowadays, and you should play, and that's going to get you points. We saw Najee Harris in bad games have 11 receptions, and that immediately made him a relevant running back that week. So good and bad, but I think he should probably be taken more along the lines of a middle first-round pick in rookie drafts, but he's going to be taken higher than that.
Yeah, so real quick,
Okay,
just a little bit more from. Oh wait, Lounis, what were you gonna say?
I was gonna say,
Take his thoughts.
while I do kind of agree with Jake with I'd take him more in the mid first round, I feel like I'm higher on him still overall as a prospect. I know the broken tackle rate isn't that high, but I still view him, like when I watch him, as a pretty physical runner. Maybe that just may be because of his size. Naturally, he's like 6'1". But I think he's someone who'll be able to break some tackles on the next level. It's kind of reminds me of, I remember last year, like Najee's broken tackle rate was lower than what everyone thought it would have been or should have been. And then he was still able to do it in the NFL
problem
decently.
is Spiller has.
I
not
had
put
it
up
at
any-
I had him at 0.29 on runs, and then kind of similar to Spiller, like Najee's 0.77, 77% on catches. Spiller is at 53 on catches, but 21 on runs. So Najee had in the SEC, he's at a 0.36. Isaiah Spiller also in the SEC at a 0.31. So like not killer, but
Yeah, that's what kind of, because Najee, just because he's so big, he was able to do it some on the next level. The problem with taking him top 5, and where I do agree with Jake more with like the 106 to 107 range, if you're taking a running back top 5, you need his value to go up, whether you want to keep him or trade him, to skyrocket like a Najee Harris or Javante's did this year. Because those guys went later in the first last year, and their value like now is they're both viewed as top 5, top 6 dynasty backs. Do you think Spiller can get to that after his rookie year? I don't know. That's going to be tough. That's where I would feel, I don't know if I would take him in that top 5, especially with the receivers that are in this draft.
I would have Spiller over Najee. If they were both in this draft,
Interesting.
I'd have Spiller over
bold
Najee.
take.
see, I just don't think Spiller is as good as Najee was in the passing game, and they had like they're relatively similar in the running game. I just think that Najee's a better player than Spiller is.
I'd have it pretty close.
But like, here's something interesting that I kind of wanted to point out, just in terms of where Isaiah Spiller is as a running back right now. So like, here's a little bit later in that South Carolina game I showed you. Not working. All right, here we go. So like, looks like they're just running inside zone here, and Isaiah Spiller, like, he's not a bad running back. He's gonna see his tackle, I believe this was, getting kind of beat to the inside. He's going to do this little pause so that his tackle can regain leverage. And you see the rest of it's blocked up, is patient, hits the hole. I mean, there's really not much there after that. Gets 4 yards. Like, that's a good run for a college player. You know,
He's really good patience.
Yeah, he has the patience there, lets his block set up, has the power. Like, if there was just this one linebacker on the second level hitting him, there's probably a pretty good chance that he takes that guy and barrels him in the end zone. Right? But
Yeah.
at this, like, that is good vision, I would say. You know, it's pretty darn good. But at the same time, I don't think he's at this elite level. So you're gonna have like this counter play. It's almost like power, where he sees this initial hole and he wants to hit it immediately. But what you'll see out of the really developed runners, and you see this out of Jonathan Taylor a lot, especially like a guy that has the top end speed and is really playing well right now, is that Jonathan Taylor if he was at that really elite NFL level type of runner, would see this safety come down, the fact that there's an unblocked linebacker or safety in the hole of where the play is designed to go, but this cutback lane that opens up. And Jonathan Taylor, you've seen it so many times, just vertically downfield will hit this, get skinny up the hole, and take this in for a touchdown. Now, Isaiah Spiller just really isn't at that level right now. He sees the initial holes open and wants to hit it as fast as possible. So he goes barreling downhill, and by the time he wants to hit this cutback lane, it's far too late. The defense is able to gain leverage, and kind of like what someone was saying, it was JT or Jake, this is a potential 20-yard touchdown, 15-yard touchdown that an elite NFL back would get. It turns into a 1-yard gain, right? That's the difference to me between Isaiah Spiller being one of these tippy top tier running back prospects and being just this, okay, he's good, he's physical, he checks a lot of boxes, but I don't want to take him in the first round or early second round type of prospect for me.
I have a question.
You're talking, just to clarify, of the NFL draft.
Yeah, of the NFL draft.
Obviously, in rookie drafts, he will be a first round.
Yeah, and landing spot for me is going to play a factor for Isaiah Spiller, and I think it should for all running backs, contrary to popular opinion, because at the end of the day, the biggest predictor for running back points is running back touches, right? I mean, we've seen plenty of guys. Myles Gaskin at the end of not this year, but 2 years ago, right, was like an RB1 because of the fact he was just getting the ball a lot. And Isaiah Spiller, if let's say drafted by the Dolphins and put in that Myles Gaskin role, could easily be a low-end RB1 given his skill set and what they would ask him to do.
Yeah, sure. I know we're not going into him today, but I'm just interested, Frank, right now, early on. How big's the gap between Hall and Spiller at RB1 and 2 for you?
Large.
I would say it's pretty decent gap right now for me. Now, once again, I haven't watched Hall at all, so Hall could definitely drop or gain a ton of value for me. But I think that I'm definitely lower on Spiller than consensus and lower on him than I initially was on my evaluation. Before we move on to our next guy, Jameson Williams, I'm trying to see if there's anything that I'm missing on him, anything else that we want to show. I mean, he's young. You got to give him that.
Yeah,
he's a pretty darn young prospect. Like Isaiah Spiller, I'm pretty sure he's like a young 20 years old. Not even that he's just 20 years old to be drafted.
Yeah, I think he'll turn 21 in August.
So, in terms of being underdeveloped, like that could definitely be one of the reasons why he's a little bit underdeveloped right now as a runner. I mean, you can't really that Texas A&M line would move people. Like that was a good ass offensive line that they had there. Jonathan Taylor had terrible vision problems in his college rookie year. That was his biggest fault. Yeah, I disagree with that a little bit. It wasn't perfect. I think he was more inconsistent than anything. Like there were definitely. I think that Jonathan Taylor is like. Najee Harris is a guy that's having a lot of similar problems to Jonathan Taylor right now, where I thought his vision was decent, like pretty good in college. I was a huge Jonathan Taylor guy, but that little bit of speed increase in the NFL was giving him some fits that first half of his rookie year. But once he adjusted, now Najee Harris is taking a little bit longer to adjust than Taylor did, but once he adjusted, he was fine.
Jonathan Taylor was the next Trent Richardson.
I remember that for like 2 weeks.
Yeah, I had to go on my soapbox and defend Jonathan Taylor like I had to do DeAndre Swift, and I'm sure I'll have to do someone else for you guys. No big deal.
And like
more so you two than Frank. But.
I mean, here, you want me to? Should I pull up another?
Never.
Let me pull up another example. All right, someone else fill the space while I'm pulling up another example here.
I guess my thing is so it's tough to say, but like. Where do you think he would slot in your running back rankings right now? I mean, we just did the running back draft.
Oh, like total?
Yeah.
Let me pull up the board again.
Not that high. I mean,
he's in my top 15.
He's in my top 15. I think back end 15.
he might just slide in around 15. Probably right
Like, here's a
after-
question: Would
Probably
you
at
guys rather
14, right after Eckler, in front of Henry, Montgomery
here we go.
area.
like? I'll ask you guys to rank these 3 players in orders of who you'd rather have: Cam Akers, Spiller, and David Montgomery.
Spiller's last.
Exactly how you said it. I'd take it exactly how you said it.
Yeah,
Akers, Spiller, Montgomery.
yeah, that's what I agree.
Okay, so here's another a similar example. I'm pretty sure it's the same play, ironically. Let me slow it down a little bit. I just think that he makes up his mind a little bit early here on some of these runs. So he's going to see it. It's basically the same play, whether it's power or that counter power. He's going to see this 15 cut in slightly, right? He's going to see it slightly cut in. Let me rewind that here to get it play in running time. You're going to see he's going to take a couple steps in, and he sees that, and he sees these linebackers flowing over the top. And once he sees that, he just wants to bounce it outside. He's made up his mind. He's going outside no matter what. But if he has a little bit more patience, a little bit more, let these blocks set up like an NFL back would, this vertical cut here is wide open. This is a big play. If he's able to make a linebacker that has poor leverage miss, which an NFL draft day 2 prospect should be able to do, this is a massive run. But he gets a little bit hasty, tries to bounce it outside, and that's like a negative 4-yard play. Like it kind of happens consistently. It's not like a one-off issue necessarily.
Yeah,
And, like,
and that was one of the things that I said was I see too many plays that you end up with a 2-yard run, a 3-yard run, a 5-yard run. Like there's when it should be more. And that's the one issue that I run into here when I'm trying to take him. If you're going to take him at RB2 in this draft, that's kind of a red flag for me. It was when guys that don't, especially at the college level, don't break more runs than he does.
Well, not only that, it's just like comparing him, not even just to the running back prospects, to the receiver prospects this year. I like all the receivers more than him. And I would much rather have Garrett Wilson, Drake London, David Bell, definitely those Treylon Burks. Sorry, I was forgetting him. Matt Corral, I'd rather have.
Breece
and then,
Hall.
yeah, Breece Hall as of right now. I think I'd take Walker over Spiller as well. It's like, and then you start getting into the question of, okay, Jameson Williams, who we can segue into now.
I'm just saying. I think it looks like preview for our mock drafts. I might be me or Lounis has ended up taking Isaiah Spiller. All right, yeah. I'll cue us into Jameson Williams though, while you can pull up some stuff on him. So Jameson Williams, unfortunately, we are saying this the day after the national championship where he just tore his ACL. There is a chance he goes back to school, but I think he's just going to go to a draft. You should go to a draft if you're projected to be the top wide receiver, which Schefter tweeted out was he was projected to be the top wide receiver in the NFL draft, which I think is kind of ludicrous that he was. But if you're projected to be, you tear your ACL, you're out 10 months, that kind of sucks. But I still think you're getting first round draft capital. To me, if he goes back to school, I think that's a red flag, and I'm dropping him down my board significantly. But anyway, so Jameson Williams, he transferred from Ohio State, correct, to Alabama. From one crowd wide receiver room to another crowd wide receiver room. I don't know. I guess whatever. Didn't really do anything on Ohio State. Then in his junior season, just now at Alabama, just went off 75 receptions for over 1,500 yards and 15 touchdowns. Just went crazy, especially with the absence of Mechie. He was just getting targeted like crazy at the end of the year. He's 6'2", 190 with a 24.4 BMI, just in case any of you are tender girls like me. It's not, well, there's nothing that significant about those numbers, though. It's kind of your average. You'd like him to be a little heavier if you want him to be an alpha receiver. Anyway, yards per route run versus single coverage, 4.28. That's I wish I had the stats in front of me to show everyone, but that's about middle of the road for this wide receiver class where he is. Yeah, take it away, Frank.
No, well, I'm really torn on Jameson Williams because
Same.
You definitely see why people have him as a number, like some people have him as the number one receiver in their receiver rankings right now, right? I mean, the guy's fast as nuts. He's a really stridey runner. Let me get my state right here. Hold on. Did I not write it down? No, he does. Okay. He holds the state record in 300-meter hurdles in Missouri.
Okay, and what does that mean?
That means that his
Insane
vertical
athlete.
explosion is fucking nasty. All right, like think about that. He's got the state record. No one in 300-meter hurdles is faster than this dude in Missouri, all time. You can pick out any motherfucker in Missouri, and he'll kick
Of all
their
time.
ass. All right,
All 12 of them.
No, but like initially when I first started watching him during like the middle of the season when he was kind of coming up, like obviously you could tell he was fast, but he didn't look as fast as he actually is. I mean, this is a dude that's going to run under a 4.4. I think he ran a 4.38 in high school, and
There were rumors he could run a 4.3, like flat.
yeah, like I would not be surprised. Well, unfortunately with the ACL injury, I don't think we'll be able to see him run.
Yeah.
And I thought the most interesting thing about Jameson Williams compared to some of the other Alabama receivers to come out is that he really doesn't have the polish that the other receivers have as a route runner, as a ball catcher, right? He kind of relies on his physical ability and his God-given talents to have him win. And it's not that he doesn't have any polish. It's like you compare Calvin Ridley, Jerry Jeudy, Devontae Smith, Waddle, like all these dudes was like coaches
Jones,
tape
Amari
all of their
Cooper.
routes. But except for this, I will say, and this is going to be really interesting to see how his game translates, because I think that's one of the other problems is that his game doesn't perfectly translate to the NFL, except for this route. Let me show you this. This little quick out Omaha kind of stuff that's really popular in the RPO game nowadays. He is fucking nasty at this. Just perfect speed out. And look how quickly that drop step, he drops this foot back and he can get upfield. It's nasty, dude. So quick, bang. Right up the field. That's something that'll definitely translate to the NFL, but the other parts of his skill set, I'm really not sure how they will. Because I feel like Bama just has him half of their plays deep over. And if he's getting man coverage, just continue it or that single high, break it off a little bit more towards the sideline. If it's too high, go up the seam. And if there's a bunch of people in front of you, stop in the middle and find the hole in the zone. Like, it just feels like a lot of his route tree that he seems to run a lot. It's like long developing routes deep down the field where we've seen guys kind of struggle to translate specifically from Alabama in this role. Like Henry Ruggs is someone that you'll definitely point to where he was kind of used in a similar role, not exactly the same. And he definitely didn't have the production. I'll give you that. But he was someone that like his game just didn't really perfectly translate. And it kind of started coming on a little bit later. I personally have Jameson Williams as like a late first round prospect. I'm definitely a little bit lower on him than other people will be. Late first round in the NFL and rookie drafts. Probably pretty similar to my Waddle grade that I missed on. But yeah, where do you guys have him? Would you think?
Well,
I have him higher. Go ahead, JT.
Well, Frank just mentioned Waddle, and I think if we're talking Alabama's prospects, I'd have him behind Waddle in terms of what I thought about prospects, but I'd have him above everyone else in Jeudy, Devontae Smith, and Ruggs, who, to be fair, I was lower on than consensus. In terms of where I have him in the NFL draft, it seems like he's going to be taken in. Well, now I don't know with his ACL tear, but
Before the injury, it looked like he was going to go top 12.
yeah, which
Yeah,
I would
top
not have
15.
done.
Which was absurd in its own right. But
Yeah,
anyway.
I think he's a second round pick, to be honest. Like, I think he should go around where I said Spiller should go, is somewhere in the mid second. to me, I just can't justify having him over my top 4 receivers right now in Bell, Burks, London, and Wilson, who we'll all get to later. After that, you can make a case for him to me. But as far as wide receiver rankings go, he's probably lower in my 7th or 8th. And it's just that it's scary to me that he couldn't do anything on Ohio State. I get that there was a crowded receiver room in Olave and Wilson and everyone else that was there. But it took you going to the top school in Alabama, and albeit you went off in your one season, but we're just looking at really one season of product. And that's not enough for me to go all in on it.
I think we're all in agreement here, except maybe Lounis. I think he's overpriced at this point. I don't understand why he was ranked as, McShay's and other people's wide receiver 1 in this class. I just truly think, like JT said, there's Burks, Bell, London, Wilson. I like George Pickens. I like Olave, that I think are more polished and their game translates more to the NFL, if I'm going to be completely honest. I just think, we saw Waddle last year be just one of the most top route runners in all of college football. He was just open because he truly made defenders look stupid. And I haven't seen that from Jameson Williams. I really think he's more of a guy that, he just depends on his speed, and this Alabama offense just completely overpowering a lot of the teams they play against. And I don't know how much that is going to transfer to the NFL when the athletes catch up to him. And that's my concern with him. And I think, like you said, I think he should probably be, mid to high 2nd round pick in the NFL draft, and probably a late 1st rounder in your rookie drafts.
Let's use logic here and try, because what you said about McShay and stuff, I agree with, right? Let's use logic in why did Jameson Williams transfer? He was behind a crowded receiver room. Well, who was in that crowded receiver room? Garrett Wilson. How do you not have, how are there people out there that have Garrett Wilson below Jameson Williams? Garrett Wilson was keeping Jameson Williams off the field.
I think Olave as well, too. Olave was, too, and he's a senior, and that's why he's not in discussion for this top wide receiver room, because everyone's all like, oh, he's too old. But he was also holding Jameson Williams off the field, and I don't think people realize that right now.
Well, okay, I have a couple points that I want to respond to for this, and another clip that I want to show. Should I say my one negative thing, my one last negative point, or go into the positive points?
You could do a negative.
I didn't say. I'll
start with the negative.
Okay, so for the negative point, dude, the best competition he went against, he kind of didn't do particularly amazing against. I mean, against Georgia in the SEC championship, he definitely had great stats, and he looked good. He had that long catch last game. But I think when he went one-on-one against some of the top corners I saw, specifically this McCreary kid that I'm about to show on Auburn, Sauce Gardner, and Kobe Bryant on Cincinnati, I thought that the both of them did really well against Jameson Williams. And you saw in the second half, Alabama start to kind of hide him in the slot and hide him in stacks so that he could kind of get better matchups and get open easier. So, here's one of the things that kind of scared me about Jameson Williams. Now, he didn't play a ton of this Auburn game. This is actually right before he got ejected. But he's going up one-on-one against Roger McCreary, a really good corner on Auburn here. And Jameson Williams in the slot. This is exactly what NFL teams want him to be doing. He's going to be running a slot fade here, and he's just unable to stack McCreary. And it's not even like McCreary gets hands on him on the line of scrimmage. He doesn't get hands on. This should be a 1 rep from Jameson Williams. And yeah, it's a bad throw, but I want to see Jameson Williams. He should be in front of McCreary right here. Given his speed and talent, obviously he's trying to come back for the ball, but someone like Odell Beckham, this is why Odell was amazing coming into the league. And guys like Justin Jefferson and whatnot, it's his body positioning, their body positioning would just be better here. And I just don't trust him to be a Jamar Chase and be able to get away with sometimes bad body positioning in these instances and sometimes wonky releases because he's just so much more athletically gifted, powerful, and a better ball catcher than those guys. Jameson Williams is not. So that's kind of one of the things that scares me is like he's going up against some of these better corners. He's not able to completely rely on his athletic ability. And once he starts having to rely on his technique and the nuance, it starts to let him down a little bit.
So I like the point I'll say. I think Jameson Williams, where I agree he's not fully polished, I do think that honestly adds more to my opinion of like his ceiling being insanely high. Um, Having like
100%.
this type of production off just his athletic ability. Like if he can get some of that cleaned up in the NFL and put it all together, like I think the second half of the season, like I know you guys mentioned, he had a bunch of big games. Obviously, the Georgia game, SEC championship, he had 7 for 184. Against Arkansas, up against Treylon Burks on the other side, he had 8 for 190 and 3 touchdowns. And he had a bunch of other games in like 150, 160. I just think he's so explosive where like I understand where the like some NFL evaluators are coming from. There's probably just like some NFL coaches that think like if I could just like coach him up a little bit on some of his route running and like his athletic ability and like kind of game breaking speed, or like any given play he can like house a slant.
Sure.
I think
Right.
that's where they kind of envision for him.
The problem
What were
is
you
if
gonna
I'm
say, Jake?
taking him as the wide receiver 1 in this class, I don't want a fucking project. I want a guy that's going to come in and already have a good route tree and know how to position his body. Obviously, he's going to get coached up and taught along the way, but if you don't have that coming in, it just starts him at a lower ceiling in the first place.
Okay, well, I got a couple things I want to respond to there because NFL teams are going to think like that. NFL teams will gladly take on projects because of what Lounis has said. They think with a couple little pointers here and there, we can get this guy to fill a role that other people can't. B, Lounis is right in that Jameson Williams' ceiling might be the highest in the draft class. I'm not sure it personally is, but it's definitely up there because I will venture to say, in terms of game speed, this guy is in the top 20 of how fast they play on the field of receivers in the past 20 years to come out of the draft.
Yeah, he's
This guy
ridiculous.
is a fucking blazer. And dude, he gets those freaking legs going up the field. It's powerful, it's fast, it's stridey. Like it's definitely really nice. And like Luna said, he can house a slant. You can get the ball in his hands, and when he gets going downfield, he's gonna be powerful. He's a returner. So like he has a lot of things that you like. And lastly, like, dude, this guy's a really coveted skill set. He could do things that other people just can't, which is probably the reason why he's the wide receiver 1 on some people's boards and probably will go pretty darn high in the NFL draft because when you have a skill set that other people just don't have and some guys just can't match up with, you're going to go high in the damn draft. And then I guess the last point is like going back to your point of, okay, Ohio State guys keeping him off the field. I kind of have a general rule of thumb with transfers where it's like, I don't really care what happened at your last spot as long as when you transfer, you produce quickly. And Jameson Williams definitely started producing quickly. I mean, the guy's got like 1,500 yards this year. So in terms of those guys kept him off the field, I don't really care about that all that much.
I don't know. I want to see you producing when you're younger, specifically your second season. If you're not doing anything in your second season, it's tough for me to buy all in. And I don't know. This feels like narratives that we say about like players like Henry Ruggs, like Kadarius Toney, where it's like these are unpolished guys, but they have this skill set, and all it needs is some coaching adjustments and everything. Well, they went to places that didn't really give them the coaching that they need. I mean, the book's still out on Kadarius Toney and what he could end up being. But if we're saying he's going to be a top draft pick, do we have faith in a team that's picking, that didn't make the playoffs? Do we have faith in this team producing him, polishing him up and everything, and making him a solid wide receiver? And that, to me, is we're starting to ask a lot about someone who I already don't think is as great of a prospect as the other top guys in his class.
I will say one thing about the Ruggs comparison. Ruggs never had production like Jameson had this year in any of his years at Bama.
Yeah, that's fair.
I mean, Ruggs had Judy and Waddle on the other side of him at some points in his college career. I don't think you can really compare Mechie to that right now.
Yeah,
I mean that's fair.
also fair.
But I mean, even like we saw when like Judy and Waddle were there, like Devontae Smith was still producing a ton, and he's translated as a
another
much better
guy,
NFL
like-
receiver. Like with
Well, that's what.
Yeah,
That's
no, but I'm
just
saying
that's
with
why
Car-
Ruggs'
I don't
stats
know.
were never that high. You know, Jameson Williams is the
Yeah,
clear
obviously,
number
yeah, I
one
know he had a ton
receiver
of
on
other
this
receivers,
team
but
right now.
But I don't know. Mechie still had like what 1,100 yards. I don't know. Obviously, he got injured, but I just think Jameson coming out as a prospect, I'd feel a lot better about than Ruggs was coming out. Ruggs coming out was just purely on ability. Like at least with Jameson, it's like yeah, a lot of his ability, and he's not like fully polished, but like he's had production against like good SEC defenses, like Arkansas, Texas A&M, Georgia.
I wouldn't consider Arkansas's defense all that good, but
I know, but he had a really good game against. I just threw Arkansas because that game was kind of crazy.
yeah, I don't know. I don't think that Ruggs got away on just his ability. I think the problem with Ruggs is that he was kind of generally a finished product when they drafted him. He definitely got better, right? I'm not going to say he didn't get better, and he started producing this year. So like, if he doesn't get that DUI and kill someone, like he was on pace for 1,000 yards and being like a pretty damn good year
2
two
year.
prospect. So like I think let's not go crazy calling Ruggs a bust or anything. Like that's
Yeah,
probably
no,
the
definitely
general
it's not.
consensus, but I don't know. I don't see the nuance with Jameson Williams. He's definitely the most polarizing wide receiver prospect, other than probably George Pickens, where you'll have guys all
Yeah.
over the board. I'm not necessarily in rookie drafts going to shy away from Jameson Williams, but I think I'm kind of in the camp where I've gotten burned on guys with a similar type of profile to Jameson Williams. He's in an offense that he doesn't have to have the nuance that you have to do and you have to have in the NFL. He's able to get away with being a little bit sloppy. He's able to get away with not disguising his route tree as much because if anytime he has better leverage, you can know what fucking route is coming. If you have outside leverage and he's running an inside route, it's just a bad matchup. The guy can know it's coming. It doesn't fucking matter. Come the NFL and where things are more disguised, you have to be better. You have to be nuanced. I'm just a little bit scared about Jameson Williams, especially when I just really like Drake London and Garrett Wilson, guys like that.
Yeah. At his price, I
That's
probably won't end up drafting Jameson. But I'm not as low as I was. Like, I don't hate him. Like, hate's a strong word. But, like, I'm not extremely low on him like I was Devontae Smith, Kadarius Toney. Like, I think he's a fine pick. But at the price that you're probably drafting him, I'm probably not drafting him.
Yeah, I think the last thing is that his landing spot is definitely going to move his value for me. Because
1,000%.
and man, if he goes into an offense where I think he could thrive, I mean, like Luna said, the ceiling is ridiculous. The ceiling is really high.
I think he gets the highest ceiling out of it. Well, him or Wilson, I'd probably say is the highest ceiling in this class.
Burks.
With
has
Burks
the
third.
highest.
Burks has the highest.
Burks
ceiling.
has the highest ceiling.
Probably
Maybe hype wise.
Drake London second also.
You have Drake London second. That's interesting.
I think Burks can
I
be a
think
top
that-
10 wide receiver in the NFL. I don't think any of these other guys can. Like, maybe not even top 10. Maybe top 5 for Burks.
I definitely think
some of
Garrett
these
Wilson
guys might
can
be
be.
able to squeak top 10.
It's funny.
I think Garrett
I
Wilson
think
can be.
that Wilson and London are like the two guys to me that have the top 10 potential.
We'll break those guys down when we get to them. We have a whole, I don't know, 3-4 months.
All off season to get there.
All right. But I think that's a good place
Yeah.
to cut, right? This was easily one of our longest episodes. Shout out
1,000%.
everyone if you made it all the way through. We had a lot to talk about. I'm assuming next week will not be nearly as long. But yeah, season 2, episode 23. Thank you everyone for listening, watching, hanging out with us in YouTube chat, subscribing, commenting, everything. We really appreciate it. We've made a lot of progress from when we first started, and that just gives us more encouragement. Hopefully we're helping you out. I think we're enjoying hanging out with the community and everything, and doing drafts and everything. So yeah, thank you everyone.
Thanks, guys.